Hey Capricorns, how y'all doing? Welcome. We're going to be doing your first half of September general reading here. I am so happy to be back with y'all. And let's get right into the meditation. Listen, I saw the Capricorn Collective as a peacock. Yes, peacock. But it was interesting though. They took me to, I believe it was the second Kung Fu Panda movie, where the peacock, its feathers act as swords. And it was interesting. I got this very distinct sense of Queen of Swords meets King of Cups. And that's actually, a pattern running throughout a lot of these readings for this round. It's like this marriage of being in a place of high discernment, aka the Queen of Swords, where you're willing to cut out or remove anyone or anything that doesn't suit or belong within your energy or is worth, as you see it, your time, right? And then also King of Cups, allowing your emotions to inform you while maintaining a helpful distance enough away from them in order to see it, from a place of grounded perspective. Sometimes the Queen of Cups feels very deeply, but her emotions can cloud her reason, right? The King of Cups doesn't have that issue, right? He feels very deeply, but he has just enough distance away from the emotions where he can observe them, almost like a scientist. Observe them, right? And go, what are you telling me? How are you informing me, right? As opposed to being in a place of being an experiencer, he's an observer of emotions. And it feels like you are in a place of observation meets action. Interesting. I also heard you say, I'm making a list and I'm checking it twice. And I think of Santa Claus. I'm making a list and I'm checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty or nice. It really does feel like you're in a place where you're like, okay, this stays, this goes, you stay, you go. It really feels like you are in a place of going, okay, like almost, I'm seeing an Olympian. I'm seeing an Olympian and how they fuel their body, right? I'm going to eat this at this time, and then there's this is going to give me extended energy. This is going to give me the protein I need. This is going to, whatever, healthy fats, amino acids, whatever that is, right? I'm no Olympian, honey, but whatever that is, it's down to a science. Their diet is down to a science. And it's all there to ensure that their instrument, aka their body, works at maximum efficiency. That feels very pertinent for you. There's something about the way that you are moving through this energy right now that is very much like a scientist and like an Olympian, right? Where everything needs to serve a greater goal or purpose, right? No room for fluff. Feels like. Let's see what your energy. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Okay. You have the tarantula here. This is really interesting. So this is fire energy, right? Fire energy. Fire transforms, it is a force of destruction and purification, I want to say, right? The tarantula has this energy of it's going where it's going, but it's taking its time getting there. There's this certain sense of trepidation and watching each step. You also can't rush a tarantula. The difference also between the tarantula energy and the spider energy, for example, is that if you flick on a light, a spider will scurry off, right? Pretty quickly, right? A tarantula doesn't have that option. It kind of is kind of the energy that I equate with the tarantula, right? So there is this sense of I'm getting methodical, of going about things very methodically. So I'm not hearing rushed decisions or hurried transactions. You are taking your time. You're approaching, I feel like this is work, personal. I feel like this is the whole kit and caboodle. You're really approaching it methodically and from a place of, but I say this in a positive way, detached observation and perspective and decisiveness. Yeah, it feels like a cool, crisp blade. That's what it feels like. Interesting. All right. What's going on for Capricorn? First half of September. Ooh. All right. So we have the Page of Pentacles here. This is beautiful. This is a younger energy or a novice energy. This can be a new work project, forming new work partnerships, or having a point of purpose that you believe will take you to a place of longevity within it, right? So starting a new line of work that, you hope will, last a long time, that you'll be able to become an expert in, or partnering with others that you two have a shared common goal or vision as it relates to work or the material realm, right? Really cool. Also, you popping up here as the earth energy that you are. What I'm really drawn to with this is that we're talking about making cuts. We're talking about being decisive and making a list and checking it twice. And then we have the Page show up in the Pentacle suit, right? So I feel like the energy around this is like, this is what gets to stay. This is what is left over after I've made my edits and cuts as well, right? Sometimes when you get rid of a lot of the extraneous stuff, what you're left with looks even bigger, right? Because it's about perspective. Is someone here, because I'm really drawn to this canary here, which represents singing, using your voice and music. There is something about the way that you are communicating right now that is very on point. It's true. The way that it's communicated is clear. People are understanding you really well. But I feel like the way you're doing... Okay, this is what I'm getting. Have you ever been around like a grandmother or grandfather or someone who's, an elder? And they can pretty much say whatever they want and get away with it. There's something like that in the energy, but it doesn't feel negative. It doesn't feel like you're talking smack or anything. It's just the way that you're communicating things right now. It's like people are listening extra hard, and you're dropping these truth bombs. You're dropping these, pearls of wisdom. People are like, what? Oh my Lord. So it's in the energy right now. It's rather nice. And then we have the Ace of Swords, which is so like, this is big communication. This is truth, but I'm really obsessed with the fact that I saw this crisp metal blade. I saw the Queen of Swords making cuts and edits. And then we have the sword itself, the Ace of Swords. Okay, I'm really drawn to the laurel wreath here, right? So this is tied to Apollo energy. The laurel tree is sacred to Apollo. And we think about that, there's this aspect of being this, having this connotation of being rewarded, but also seen for what you in particular are really good at. I would say even your own personal genius, your own personal brand of artistry, creativity, communication, writing, right? Anything in that realm. But this is also about how you use your voice and what you have to say. What are you communicating? How are you communicating it? It's a really interesting energy here in terms of, it's almost as if it's so absolute that it doesn't necessarily matter how it lands. And because of that, it's landing on and for those who it's meant to land on and for. Okay? I feel like there's an aspect of weeding out a lot of the people or situations around you or aspects of yourself that are not of a vibration to where you are now. Because it does feel like the energy that you're in now that I'm tapping into is quite different than it was. There's been a change here. Yeah. Ooh, there we go. The World. Yeah. Okay. So this is the successful completion of a cycle. We have another laurel wreath here. This is that way of setting the infinity symbol here too, which is just showing like the success around this point is going to be something that's long lasting and very well done. And I really like too how these are a lot of big energies here. It starts off with the Page of Pentacles, which is like, right? And then it goes to the Ace of Swords, and then the World. This is such a positive key. This is that major arcana that says you are somewhere that is worth taking note of and that is within a destined context, right? The minors, if you see something that you don't like, you can change it. But the major arcanas, this has to do with your soul path and purpose, period. It really feels like, and I'm going to say this is what it feels like, there's this feeling of being able to do no wrong. But it feels constructive, okay? Not like a know-it-all, not like infallible, but being capable of doing no wrong. There's something about that. Yeah. You know, I'm really drawn to this scorpion and the different, so these represent all the fixed signs here, right? Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And there's something about here with the successful completion point of this world key and this laurel wreath, etc. There's this aspect here of you mastering a lot, because I'm really drawn to the fixed aspect. There's this aspect of you mastering a lot of elements that previously were unstable or unknown. It feels like you're very sure. You're entering into a place where you're very sure about things. You're seeing things very clearly, and it's giving you this sense of forward direction. But I'm really fascinated with this tarantula aspect, because if this had been the cheetah, right? Just for an example, if you had gotten the cheetah, and it would have been, oh, you're making these cuts and edits, but you're just running ahead fast, and anyone who can't get on the chariot doesn't belong on the chariot. But this tarantula is giving me this very distinct energy. You are being so meticulous and specific about these changes that you're making, the way that you're seeing things, whatever it is you're communicating, whatever it is that you're working on that has to do with truth, your truth, or the truth as you see it around you in your world, right? You're being so meticulous and careful about it and so deliberate about it that these changes are going to stick, which means because you're taking your time doing it, that there's very little chance of you getting to the end of this and looking back and going, oh man, did I make the right decision? When you take your time in being decisive, there's very little room for regret later on, because you know you put the time and thought into it. You didn't act hastily, right? It's cool. Page of Pentacles. I also want to point out that spider energy, even tarantula energy, represents writers, because you also have the Ace of Swords here as well. So you could be a writer, or writing something, or journaling, or working on something, or having the written word as a point of release or a tool for you right now within and around this process, okay? Okay. I'm picking up on like a grandmother type energy, and I made that example of like an elder being able to say what they want and, you know, kind of get away with it. There's this very distinct energy that I'm picking up on, like a mama bear energy, where it's an older grandmother kind of energy, where it's like they will tell you real quick when you're acting a fool, and then they'll follow it up really quickly with like a plate of nice warm snickerdoodle cookies. There's something about that, sweet and salty, making a list and checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Something about that. I also feel like a group of you, I mean, this really is quite deliberate around like who stays, who goes, what stays, what goes, what aspects of me stay and which go. Something about that. You have the Hanged Man here to clarify the Page of Pentacles. So this is really interesting. You know, the Hanged Man, this is really fascinating how this is depicted here with the honeybee. Or not the honeybee, the ant. I forget what kind of ant this is, but this is really interesting here, because if you think about it, ants are very meticulous. They see things very up close, and there's a purpose to every action that they take, right? For example, the opposite end of this energy might be like an otter who just, you know, plays and lapses about in the sun, and they hold each other's hands while they're sleeping so no one gets taken, you know, away by the river when they're sleeping. Like this is a counter energy to that. And in this context, I feel like this is saying heart over head. But I'm going to tell you, I feel like it's in reverse. So if in the upright, the Hanged Man is about heart over head. You know when you do inverted poses in yoga, or even if you don't know, I'm about to tell you. When you do inverted poses in yoga, that's to get the blood flow redirected, and it's like that purpose of, you know, enlightenment and redirection and reframing and flipping it over, quite literally, right? And all of that blood rushing to the head and the cleansing, you know, agents that provides and everything else, right? Cool. You also see the world differently from upside down, right? I do feel like for you, this is in reversed. I feel like especially if in the past you have come from things from a, you know, heart overhead perspective in terms of your relationships, what you're passionate about, the work that you do, there's something flipped in your energy now where you're like, okay, I'll always have that at my disposal, but right now the energy is calling for head over heart. And that's where I am. And I'm going to roll with that. but I'm going about it deliberately and with a lot of thought and calculated action. So I do feel like the dividends are going to be quite substantial as a result. This is also a pause in the action, right? So again, back to the idea of taking your time. I do feel like some of you guys are re-examining the work that you do, especially those of you involved in a line of like artistry or art. It could be that you're changing the way that you go about it, how you market yourself around it, or something about like, is the audience that I have or that I desire the one that, you know, that I think really belongs to me? What sort of audience, what sort of, you know, people am I attracting around the work as I've done it or as I do it? It feels like you're in a head over heart space around it, but it feels very productive. It feels like that's what it wants to be. Okay? Okay. Just going to clarify for this Ace of Swords. Oh my God, I love it. The Star. Ah, so beautiful. The Star, to clarify the Ace of Swords. This is big energy. So the Star is wish fulfillment. It's great hope. It's divine love, right? I want to point something out here. See these like eureka moments, points of light that are coming up here? You know, the Star is also about being in the spotlight. For those of you who are in, you know, careers that involve being in the spotlight or on stage or, you know, reaching an audience, etc. But let's talk about the other aspect of the Star, a la wish fulfillment. So you know how this pearl here is created through grit and discomfort? And that the oyster, whenever it feels something trying to, you know, permeate its shell here, its house, it creates that protective, I think it's like a protective membrane, right? And thus forms the pearl from the grit and the discomfort. So the pearl is the product of the oyster trying to protect itself against foreign agents. Okay? So if the pearl is the product of protection and defense, that's really interesting. I'm also drawn to the fact that that's saying pearl of wisdom with the Ace of Swords. I feel like some of you are really being called to, especially those of you who have something to say or share with the world, the writers, the communicators, the something to do with your work, your artistry, those who create, the great creators, right? What is your seed and source of greatest discomfort? Therein lies the pearl. That also makes sense with the tarantula too, because that's a bit of an uncomfortable energy. What is the source of your greatest discomfort? Therein lies the pearl. Yeah. Aquarius energy here. By the way, you know, I'm called to talk about that momentarily. Aquarians are known as the aliens of the zodiac. They're different. They, you know, quite often don't fit in. Those who get them, and those who don't couldn't care less, right? There's something in that for you, the world. I'm seeing the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I feel like she's come up for you guys before. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Oh, look at you at the bottom of the deck with the devil. Hello. Bobcat realness. There's something about Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. In that show, she's a female comedian that she's very different in the realm of comedy. So it was like the way that she was received. It was like, who is this housewife doing this comedy? But those who got her were like completely obsessed with her. And it became that she was a beacon for everyone who, you know, liked something different and could share her point of perspective. So there's something in that, right? Being you, truly who you are. Four of Wands with the world. Yeah, I'd say so. This is 1111 key here. This is synchronicity, right? I'm also really drawn to the fact that these are landmarkers. As depicted with these wands here. They show the beginning and ending of pieces of land. There's something about that. I do feel like a group of you guys are going to be starting to feel the itch to expand, whether that's moving to somewhere where there's more space and less city noise, or doing something around and within the home where you're really making it like a really happy and, how do I say this? A homey fortress? Like fortress sounds like you're preparing for battle, but there is this sense of like like a homey fortress where you are tending to it in a way that is very deliberate. Because I'm really drawn to this nest here as well. Because the Four of Wands traditionally is happy home life, happy partnership, and just feeling really, really good and complete and satisfied. So the Four of Wands going with the World key, all of this work that you're doing, this energy before you, this opportunity that you have, because nothing happens without you, right? We are our choices. So this is the energy available to you. If you choose to partake in this energy, this is your potential outcome here. Happy home, family, happy fortress, successful completion, and success in general, right? I just heard lion tamer. Lion tamer. It's interesting. I do feel like some of you have people around you that might benefit from this energy that I'm tapping into for you guys in terms of, could use a little more structure or a little bit of a, what is that, tough love? Tough love? Yeah. I keep hearing like, I say this with love, but is that really the most constructive way to spend your morning? I say this with love, but do you really need to be partaking in that habit that's not good for you? I say this with love, but you know what I mean? Because I'm going back to that elder too and that grandma energy, right? Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Dreamtime, creation. Remember I said how this felt like it was for the creators? Yep. 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 You know, I also want to take this literally and say it's the time of creating your dreams as well, but it's really cool because there's the dreamers, right? They're showing me La La Land, a film, La La Land. You know, there's a song about dreamers or something. It's beautiful to be a dreamer, right? Dreamers, artists, creators, all of that stuff end up, you know, lining up with managers and agents and people who are not, you know, artistic types or dreamers or whatever have you. Those that wield the sword and present the contracts and sign on the dotted line, and they're that counter energy. Why do I feel like you have an opportunity to be an artist and your own manager and agent at this time? Ooh, I just saw 2222 on the timer. That is the energy before you, where you're able to straddle both energies. Well, which makes sense when I saw the Queen of Swords and the King of Cups, because the Cups is creativity, intuition, and feeling, right? Swords are truth and the mental state and thought. This is really beautiful, Capricorn. This is a beautiful opportunity before you, right? See these turtles down here and the snake? There is a lot here about taking your time and transformation and metamorphosis as well. I also feel like for some of you guys, could be really aligning with and relating to Middle Eastern philosophies. Okay, beautiful. Woo! Capricorn, this was your first half of September general reading. I so hope that this helped and resonated. If so, please let me know in the comments below. I'm so excited to be back with you guys. Let me know what y'all been up to and into. And just thank you so much, really, for being here. I appreciate every single one of y'all for watching. And as always, just thank you for being you, and be well. Until next time.